What's up, y'all? My name's Aaron, and welcome to my channel. I'm a dude with a tarot deck who's gonna do a reading for you right now. If you've seen any of my other readings, this one's gonna be a little bit different. I kind of just felt called to do something a little new. So, yeah. So I've already got the deck shuffled. Got incense and candles and Palo Santo and all that good stuff. So I'm just gonna start pulling some cards for you guys, and we're gonna see where this goes. I've had an agitating day, but it kind of stopped being agitating, and then I got this energy that I was just like, I don't know, like I just felt like I needed to do this reading. So we're just going to start pulling some cards, and we're going to see where this goes. So the first thing I want to know is who is this reading for, and what's the energy? What's your energy? What's the energy right now that we're dealing with here? So I got 9 of Cups in reverse. Let's clarify that real quick. We got 7 of Pentacles in reverse and Queen of Swords upright. Interesting. Yeah, no, this kind of describes it a little bit. Like with this 9 of Cups energy, like I'm feeling just kind of a little sad, if I'm being completely honest. Like I feel like there's something that's got me down. I feel like there's something that's got us down, and I think we're pursuing some inner happiness here. With this 7 of Pentacles in reverse, that's telling me that the emotional like blah feeling is coming from being nearsighted and like not looking at the long-term goal. But with the Queen of Swords upright here, I'm getting that there's a balance. Like there's like this to me is like the balanced mind card, right? So maybe that's what this is. Maybe it's like looking at like a balance between like happiness and sadness, you know, and like a balance between like short term and long term. What else do we have here? 5 of Pentacles in reverse. So yeah, like whatever this energy is that we're feeling right now is going to carry us into a place where we no longer feel that, which is really interesting. And I think that points to like a deeper lesson of like being where you are right now. And like something that I've been working with today is the idea of like detachment, right? Like that's like, what is detachment? And a lot of times I think about like defining something also based on what it's not, you know? And so I was thinking while I was driving around today, and I was like, you know, detachment is not bypassing. Detachment is not denial. Detachment is not gaslighting yourself. Detachment is not suppressing anything. It's not avoiding anything. It's just being detached from it. So that doesn't mean that we don't experience it. Like detachment doesn't bypass. Like bypassing is like, oh my God, I'm starting to feel this kind of like negative shit, you know, like this kind of sadness or this kind of like melancholy. And you want to like, you know, you want to bypass it. You want to avoid it. And that honestly does a lot more harm than good is kind of what I'm realizing lately. And like, I don't know about you guys, but I know that I'm realizing that I feel like I've been bypassing for what seems like forever. Like there's been stuff that's been kind of just like stuck up inside that I needed to really just bring awareness to, that I haven't And, you know, I just wanted to focus on like feeling good, you know? So I think that's what we're getting here with this Five of Pentacles in reverse, is like, even though there's like this melancholiness right now, like feeling through it is actually what's going to resolve it, is actually what's going to get us past it, and is what's going to get us like not feeling like we're out in the cold, and just like feeling like a sense of lack, you know? What else do we have? Five of Cups in reverse. Yeah. There's just this like, I don't know how to describe the energy that I'm feeling right now, to be honest with you. It's like just melancholy, I guess. It's like sad but happy. Like, I'm getting the song 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins. I'm pretty sure the name of that album is Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. But that song is like, it's so good. If you haven't listened to it, you should listen to it. I'm sure you've heard it before, even if you don't know it by like name or artist name. When it's like, we don't even care to shake these zipper blues, 'cause we found hope in the land of 1,000 guilds. And like, I think about those lyrics, like, that's not even necessarily the first verse or like the first chorus, but it's like, we found hope in the land of 1,000 guilds. Like, in feeling like this sadness, it's like, you have to feel through it. Like, the hope is there. Like, the hope is in you. It's in the being. It's in the thing that's observing and experiencing. And just, I don't know, like, I don't know how to describe any of this to you. That's why we're sitting here and pulling cards right now. So many reversals. We have 10 of Cups in reverse. It's describing this energy right now. Like, I'm not really looking at like past or future as much as I'm just looking at like what's right this second. Like, what's in my direct experience right now. And it's like, yeah, like, I feel like there's a lot of like, I don't know, I'm getting like glass cage vibes. Like, feeling like you see people who have like a lot of emotional fulfillment and a lot of like celebratory energy, and just feeling like, shit, dude, like, well, I want that. Like, I want to experience that too. And that's like maybe a lot of reason why we've been gaslighting, like why we've been gaslighting ourselves, like bypassing. Because it's like, we wanted that 10 of Cups, but really the reality of the experience is the 10 of Cups in reverse. And that's not like a permanent thing. That's not a forever thing. Like I said, like, I'm just looking at like right this second. I'm not looking at like, you know, necessarily where we're going with anything right this second. You know, we might get there, but Ten of Pentacles in reverse. I swear to God, I did not like flip my deck. I shuffled everything. There's so many reversals here. I've been getting a lot of reversals lately, but reversals aren't good or bad. Reversals are just reversals. This is a tangent, but I noticed that a lot of readers don't really read reversals. And I'm going to be honest with you, like, my perspective on that is like, you're only reading half the deck if you don't read reversals. Like, yeah, it's 78 cards, and like reading them upright and then also reading them in reverse is like, what is that, like 156 different cards, kind of, you know what I mean? But like, I'm gonna put it like this: if I sat here and told you that, oh, 78 cards is a lot, I'm only gonna read 39 cards because that's just a lot of cards to read, you know, you would be like, why are you only reading half the deck, dude? That's how I feel about that. I don't mean that as like a slight on anybody or whatever, but just like, yeah, like the vibe right this second is like a lot of like emotional and material lack. It's like a lot of like melancholy. It's a lot of like not really feeling like things are going to work out, and just being like sad about that, but also like accepting what that is. And like, again, with this Five of Pentacles in reverse, like, experiencing this energy right now is what's going to actually get us out of it, paradoxically. and we still have that Queen of Swords in reverse. Like, this is like that feeling through it and the mental perspective of like unblocking yourself, like unblocking that energy and kind of just like letting those floodgates through and like letting yourself feel and experience and be the energies that need to be felt and experienced. I think these two kind of go hand in hand. I think they point to the truth of the matter, which is that there's been a lot of bypassing and a lot of gaslighting that's gone on, not only in my life, but I'm getting the sense like in some of your lives as well, and also just in like kind of the quote unquote spiritual community at large. You know, like this is a theme that's come up in a couple of the collective readings recently, which is like, you know, we always want to look at like, you know, I'm at my highest vibration and I want to heighten my vibration, and like, you know, there's higher vibration and there's lower vibration and like all that sort of stuff, right? And it's like high vibration's good, low vibration's bad. And like I feel like that misses the point, because like to me the point of spiritualism or spirituality is not just to feel good, it's to be. And like in my view, I guess it's like to be almost like quote unquote correctly. Like I don't know how to explain that, but that's like just to be who we are and where we are right this second. And if we're bypassing and if we're gaslighting and if we're like not really fully present with all of the energies that are coming up, and we would just, you know, I don't want to look at the bad stuff, I only want to look at the good stuff, you know, it's like, it's kind of like not reading reversals, even though reversals aren't necessarily always bad, right? It's like you're only looking at half the picture and you're avoiding the other half, like, and then if you're not seeing the whole picture, then you're not truly being, and it misses the entire point. Okay, Six of Cups. I'm getting the sense that this is kind of where we're going here right now. This is where we're going right now. Like, through the acceptance of what is, you get out, like, again, I'm looking at these three cards. I'm looking at Queen of Swords, Five of Pentacles reversed, and the Six of Cups. And that's like, I'm seeing how all these energies kind of fit together, and like they're pointing us towards accepting what is and being where we are. And that by doing that and experiencing the negativity and like maybe even seeing some of the goodness in it, you know, and like in realizing and accept, like, it's like if you only look at the good in yourself, you're only seeing half of yourself too. Like if you're not looking at the places where you need improvement, if you're not looking at the places where you need healing, if you're not looking at the places where, like, almost like shadow, like I hesitate to say shadow work because I know that that's like a buzzword and all that stuff right now, but like that's kind of what I'm getting. It's like it's holistic. And from taking that holistic approach, you get into that sense of like I get like emotional stability and like familiarity, like you with yourself, like you are familiar with yourself, right? You're getting that sense of like familiarity with yourself in all of the ways that you are, in all of the things that you are. There's a jazz tune that I really like. It's called All the Things You Are. I don't know if you're into jazz. It doesn't really matter. I don't know if the name Chris Potter means anything to you. But if you are at all inclined to do this, I would highly recommend that you look up. There's a guy named, I think it's like Shai Maestro, Shai, and then Maestro, Maestro, with Chris Potter, spelled how you would think Chris Potter is spelled. It's called All the Things You Are, and it's absolutely fucking beautiful. And like that's kind of what I'm getting from this, is that it's like it's not just some of the things that you are, like it's all of the things that you are. And like you have to be willing to accept that. Like you have to be willing to look at not just some of yourself, but like all of yourself. in order to really start like turning things around and like moving in the right direction. So we've got 5 of Swords. Yeah, that can be hard. That can be challenging for the mind, for the ego. Like 5 of Swords to me is the mental conflict card, and this can be internal, this can be external. But this is like, the ego doesn't always like to see that, because the ego wants to see itself as being good, right? The ego wants to look at things as like, you know, I'm a good person, I do good things, I'm out here on my spiritual mission, on my spiritual journey, and I'm saving the world and like all that stuff, right? And it's not that any of that stuff is not true. It's just that that's, again, only like part of the picture. Like, if you only look at the good stuff, then you're blind. Like, you have blind spots, and you have to be willing to see the whole picture. Like, I'm also getting the sense here that some of you might be disagreeing with me with this card. Because what I'm doing right now is maybe I'm embodying this 5 of Swords for you, and I'm challenging your beliefs. I'm challenging your ego, and it's okay. It's okay. But like, you know, I don't mean to be like crude or crass about it, but like, you know, lighting a bunch of incense and smudging yourself up and burning a bunch of candles and like sitting around a campfire and singing Kumbaya doesn't, it makes you feel good, but I just feel like it misses the point. Like, to me, that's not healing. And maybe it is for you, and maybe that's fine. And then maybe we just kind of misunderstand each other right now, which that's okay too. But it takes like actually getting in and doing the work, and like, I'm getting into the nitty-gritty of things. What's we got? Ace of Wands in reverse. Interesting. This is giving me the vibe that like, as much as you might think that you're moving forward by only looking at the good stuff, it's actually delaying you. And like, the way to move forward faster, if there's even really a way to do that because of divine timing, right? Then that's through the direct experience of yourself. Like, yeah. This is also pointing to the fact that I felt a little bit like lack of passion and like kind of a little bit of boredom today reading what's on the card. Side note, I really like this deck because it has so much information available to me on it that it's like, it's just really nice to be able to look at everything and be like, what jumps out? Like, what's the message here, you know? Because even though like I'm pretty familiar with the cards at this point, there are still things that I overlook, and it's nice to be able to have like a little reminder of like, you know, what some of these energies are, and kind of like they're pointings, you know what I mean? Like, they kind of point me, and hopefully point you as well, towards yourself, towards the deeper stuff, you know? But I'm getting that like gaslighting yourself delays you, and you might think that you're going to be delayed by looking at the negative stuff, and you might think that the fastest way to get from point A to point B is to only look at the good stuff and like only to be like super positive and like whatever. But like, it's not the case, you know? Like, I'm getting that like there is a such thing as toxic positivity, and like shaming people for feeling negative about something, or shaming people for feeling sad or mad or frustrated, or like for having these mental conflicts, right? Like with each other. Like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to have conflict. Like, that's part of life. Like, if we never had any conflict, then we would never have any resolution, right? And I'm sure we would all agree that the resolution of conflict is a good thing, yeah? So in order to experience the resolution of conflict, we have to have the conflict. And without looking at the big picture, you're going to get delayed. Like, Spirit is telling me right now that you're delaying yourself by not looking at the bigger picture. You're delaying yourself. You're actually making this take way longer than it needs to, because there's some slimy stuff under a rock that you don't want to look at. And I'm also getting the sense that it's like, it's not even like it's a lot of stuff. It's just a little bit of stuff. But you're so afraid to take a look at it that you're delaying yourself hardcore. Way more than you need to be. Like, I'm also getting, like, being afraid to ride a roller coaster, right? It's just a roller coaster. You're going to be fine. You're strapped in. Like, it's a ride. And if you don't like the ride, you don't have to ride the ride again, you know? But, like, ooh, sorry. Didn't mean to hurt your ears if that just happened. But, like, that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting, is it's like, there's also a little bit of hesitancy that I'm picking up on. And it's like, I really don't want to look at that wormy, slimy, gross thing under the rock inside of me. But, like, dude, it's there. Like, come on. Like, if you don't acknowledge things like that and you don't actually get in there and, like, really clean everything out, then you're just lying to yourself. You're pretending like something's not there that is there. And that's not healthy. Like, if you got something that you need to work on, you got something you need to work on. If you got something that you need to, you know, relax and release, then relax and release it, you know? Yeah. Now you got 5 of Wands upright. Yeah. I'm getting the sense that a lot of you, and maybe even sometimes myself included, if I'm being completely honest, want to look at things as being a competition. Like, it's almost like a creation or like a manifestation or like a spiritual, like, competition, right? With the wands, where it's like, man. Yeah. I think a lot of us are susceptible to that energy of feeling like it's a competition of, like, who can reach enlightenment faster, who can be more spiritual. I'm so spiritual. Oh, well, I'm even more spiritual because I do X, Y, Z. You know? And, like, if you feel that way, and if you've encountered people that have made you feel that way, I'm here to tell you that that's bullshit. Like, we are all spiritual, and we are all the same amount spiritual. Okay? Like, if you want to talk about awareness and, like, spiritual gifts and, like, what certain people can and can't do and, like, all that sort of stuff, that's different, but that's still not competition. It's not a competition. Like, the only competition to me that has ever been worth anything is my own competition with myself. And, like, what I mean by that is, like, am I better than I was yesterday? Like, did I improve? Did I make progress? Do I feel like I made progress? You know, how do I make more progress? And at no point do I ever want, like, a participation trophy. I don't ever want anyone to just tell me that I'm perfect and that I'm amazing and that I don't have anything to work on and that I'm perfect just the way I am. And, like, even though I know that, like, it's a perfect imperfection, right? Like, we're always where we need to be. We're always who we need to be. We're always how we need to be, right? And so in that sense, it's kind of a paradox. It's like there is that perfect imperfection, but I don't ever want somebody to just, like, lie to me and tell me that, you know? Like, I'm the kind of person that's like, if I have something stuck in my teeth, or I've got, like, a smudge on my cheek, or, like, I've got some, like, you know, spaghetti sauce around my lips or something like that, like, I want you to tell me that so that I can, like, solve that problem, you know? And I think so many of us are afraid to look at those, like, small minor things that we have to deal with inside, because we're afraid that it's gonna because it's a competition, because we look at it as a competition, right? We feel like this, like, oh, well, I'm less spiritual than they are because I have a ketchup stain on my shirt, or like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously not a literal ketchup stain, but like, you get what I'm saying. What else do we have here? Knight of Swords in reverse. Yeah, I'm also feeling a lot of restlessness. Like right off the bat, this is restless energy. Like wanting to charge forward, but like not really feeling like we know where to charge to. So I get like restless mental energy. Like there's something of a completion, right? Like I'm getting now the sense that like a lot of you and a lot of us have kind of made this realization that like it's not a spiritual competition, and like, maybe even just sitting here listening to me talk about this right now, like you've had some like epiphany, right? And you've been like, oh my god, that's crazy, like that's the thing that I needed to know, and now you want to like charge off on that because like your mind is like, oh my god, you're totally right. And this is almost like I'm getting like tempering the mind a little bit. Like the Nine of Swords in reverse here is telling me like, even though you want to charge forward with the mind, like the whole spiritual game, as it were, is that you're not the mind. Like you're not just the mind. Like you control the mind, right? But like I'm getting the sense here that a lot of us are still identified with the mind. And so when we have these like big realizations and revelations and epiphanies, we immediately want to like externalize that, right? Like we immediately want to like then take that and direct it at something. And that's not always a thing that we need to do. If we're going to direct it at something, direct it back in and sit with that. And something that I do that just kind of happens is I will like externally monologue when I'm by myself. I like talk to myself. I just think out loud because it helps a lot. So maybe do that if you're feeling like some restless mental energy around like your situation right now, around like anything that we've been talking about the last however long I've been doing this reading for at this point. A lot of restless mental energy, a lot of like, but it's like full mental energy. It's like righteous mental energy is kind of what I'm getting a little bit. Like it's like, and you want to direct that somewhere. Six of Swords reversed. So many reversals, I swear to God. I'm just pulling things off the deck. Maybe I'll start shuffling. I'm not really sure. What does it say? Yeah. So it says personal transition, resistance to change, unfinished business or emotional baggage. Yeah. Like this is very much a personal transition for a lot of us. Not really wanting to see the places that we've had blind spots, right? But like again, we're gonna go back to, where are they now? We're gonna go back to these. Okay. Queen of Swords, Five of Pentacles in reverse. That's what the Six of Swords in reverse, I think, is alluding back to here. That like the way out is in. The way out of the situation is to look at and uncover all of our blind spots. And it can be uncomfortable, which I think is another part of this Knight of Swords in reverse energy. It can be uncomfortable. It can be like a challenge mentally. We might not, and we can also then have done that and then be in a place of like, okay, well, where do I go from here? And if you're asking that question that's coming from the mind, that's not a bad thing, but you're not your mind. We have the Lovers in reverse. There's so many reversals. Jesus. It's like what I'm getting from this card is like it's time to be a little bit more introspective. Like it's time to really take a second to look at all of that stuff. And I'm getting the sense as well that like if any of you watching this or listening to this are looking for a relationship, or maybe you're in one, like like what I'm getting from this is that your relationships are going to be better off from you being whole. You already are whole, but you have to realize that you're whole. And in order to do that, you have to look at the parts of you that you don't like. You have to accept that those are there. Okay? And by like, not even by accepting and acknowledging that they're there, that's how you get rid of them. That's how you actually like, you have to feel through it in order to get there. What does it say on here? Self-love. Yep. Detachment. Indecision and fear of commitment. Yeah. If you have like these squirmy things that are underneath rocks in you, as we were talking about, they can make it hard to be willing to commit to something, because it's like, you know, they're there, but you don't want to acknowledge that they're there, and then you're worried that someone else might see that they're there and then like call you out on that, you know what I mean? Which would create that 5 of Swords energy, that mental conflict of then like, you know, then you'd want to charge forward at this lover, but you can't, because now you've been kind of like mirrored back onto yourself. And like, but the other part of this is detachment. Again, like I'm getting like a problem and a solution kind of energy right now. Like I'm getting like the problem is like little you, is the mind. The problem is that like the mind doesn't want to acknowledge, and the ego doesn't want to acknowledge its own shortcomings and its own blind spots, and it doesn't want to look at how it has maybe misappropriated energy, it has maybe manipulated people or taken advantage of people, is kind of what I'm getting. It doesn't want to acknowledge that, but like by not acknowledging that, it's how we stay stuck. It's how we get delayed. Like it's, you acknowledge that, you sit with it, and you don't have to just sit there and like hold it, right? Like you're not holding it, you're not trying to sustain this energy, you're just acknowledging it, you're just aware of it instead of avoiding it, which is kind of a catch-22, because if you're avoiding something, that means you're inherently aware of it, right? But you're not, like, you haven't fully experienced it yet. And like what Spirit wants me to tell you right now is like, it's not going to hurt you. Like you can handle whatever the thing is that you're afraid of. And that I'm also getting that it's a lot smaller than you think it is. Like I'm getting the sense that like you have a lot of fear over a tiny little thing, and you don't realize that there's no reason to have that much fear. There's no reason to blow it out of proportion. I'm getting, you're making a mountain out of a molehill, right? So you're creating those obstacles, you're creating those blockages, and like I'm getting the sense that some of you are keeping the lovers from coming in here. Like you're keeping this from coming in. But I'm also getting the sense that some of you are in a place where you need the detachment aspect of this lovers in reverse, right? There's maybe a person out there that you have been really drawn towards. I'll be honest with you, this is kind of the twin flame card for me. Because twin flames are just unity. I don't know. I'm not going to turn this into an entire lecture on twin flames. Go check out New World All-Star if you want to know more about what twin flames are from like a very technical and like very real, like perspective. But yeah. So I think a lot of you are in a place right now, like where you need to detach, and you need to be in that detachment energy. And this takes us all the way back around. This is now in Ouroboros, where the snake is eating its tail, because we've come back around to detachment, which is one of the first topics that we talked about in this reading. And that detachment is not bypassing, it's not self-gaslighting, it's not denial, it's not suppression, it's not repression, it's not only focusing on the positive. Like detachment is being. It's experiencing without clinging. And that's both good energies and bad energies, right? Like, that's something that's a little difficult, I think, sometimes, especially for me, to really, like, no pun intended, grasp. But, like, I'm getting Star Wars right now, so I'm about to go into a little bit of a Star Wars reference. So if that's a turn off for you, we're probably done here. I'm probably going to talk about this and then we're going to call it. So if me getting into like nerdy shit for a second is a turn off for you, you're good. Thank you, love you, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. If you dig me, I appreciate it. But so, like, for those of you who are down for some of this nerdy shit, the whole idea of like the fact that like a Jedi is not supposed to have attachments, right? And that it's really difficult to look at like, you know, like the journey of Anakin Skywalker, and the fact that like he obviously loved Padme and he loved his mom and he wanted to be able to do everything that he could for them, right? And it's like hard to look at that and be like, damn, like, bro, like, you know, you kind of almost intentionally, this is like, you know, George Lucas's intention for this was for you to like see like, damn, I could kind of see how the Jedi are kind of cold, and I could see why Anakin wanted to, you know, explore alternate ways of the Force in order to be able to, you know, save the people that he loved and the people that he cared about, you know. But there's the lesson there is that it's clinging, right? And if you take all of this full circle, like if you've seen all of the, you know, 1 through 6, all of the Star Wars movies, then you know that at the end of Return of the Jedi, the thing that actually saves Anakin and allows Luke to actually like win against the Emperor and against Darth Vader, right, is his love for his father. But here's the difference. Like, Anakin's love for Padme and for his mom was that he didn't have a sense of self separate from them. He needed them to survive, to be cared for, to be taken care of, like to be in his life and be around him and be loving and supporting and like, you know, there, in order for him to have a sense of self-worth and self-identity. And the difference is that Luke never knew his dad. He only had found out, like, you know, I think in the timeline it's like, you know, a year before or something like that, a year before the events of Return of the Jedi, whenever that is. He'd only found out like not too long ago that Darth Vader was even his dad in the first place. And so think about that, where he looked at his dad as being this like evil man. He only saw Darth Vader. But he realized that in there was Anakin Skywalker too. And he accepted that his dad was both light side and dark side. And he was able to act out of love that was detached because he never had a relationship with his dad, right? And so he honestly hated his dad without knowing that it was his dad for most of his life, because all he knew was Darth Vader and like the chaos that was wrought at his hands, right? So that's the difference, is that like Luke's actions, and the reason that is like quote unquote okay or like accepted in like the ways of the Jedi, is that it sees both and it accepts both, and there is love there, but it's not clinging and like attached and like whatever. He didn't have like a burning desire to have a relationship with his dad. In all honesty, all of that hate, all of that like what you would consider to be clinging energy would be that hatred that he had for Darth Vader, for being this evil absolute piece of shit, mass murderer, all that stuff, right? But when he realized that it was his dad and he saw Anakin Skywalker in there for the first time, that's what allowed him to detach from that negativity and to have true love for his father. So that's honestly really powerful. I'm a Star Wars fan, as you can tell. But that's, you know, if we're gonna go back to, sorry, the oh, that's funny. I just flipped it. This card came up in reverse. Like, if anybody left because they weren't into nerdy shit, they're missing this, which is, you're here for this. So this card just flew out of my hand and flipped over. And I'm looking at 131 on my clock right now, which is incredibly resonant for me, and hopefully I'm getting the feeling that it is for some of you guys as well. Like, I think you're seeing this. I don't think that I need to say anything about the fact that this just happened right after I told you this whole story about Anakin and Luke and all of this. Like, you stuck around, you felt it, you're here. This happened. That said, I'm going to leave the reading right here. I love you. Thank you for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Patreon links in the description. I love you. You're awesome. Goodbye.